You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Members of Congress are still mourning the loss of Congressman John Lewis. We showed you yesterday the various tributes that took place on the House floor. We've had many CBC members who have been on talking about that and what he meant and really his impact on the members of Congress. I also had the opportunity to, I'm going to show you guys this in a second, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley sent me this photo here. This is a photo that was placed in his seat there in the House of Representatives, there for Congressman John Lewis. Joining us right now from Capitol Hill is Congresswoman Maxine Waters of California. She, of course, served a number of years with Congressman John Lewis. Congresswoman Waters, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm so pleased you invited me to be on today. And you're so thoughtful, and thank you for sharing with us those moments with C.T. Vivian, because he was a very, very integral part of the civil rights movement and worked right along with Dr. Martin Luther King and with John Lewis, a very gentle man. I'm so pleased that you gave time and attention to him also.
When we talk about these two giants, Vivian passed away at 95, Lewis passed away at the 80, both in Atlanta, both on the same day. Their impact is immeasurable, but I think one of the things, and we talked about this yesterday in the last several days, is that we sort of want to lock these two into time. But the reality is, with Vivian, he started in 1947. He never stopped. Andrew Young said he was still active until 2 weeks ago. Congressman John Lewis was at Black Lives Matter Plaza just last month. They were active fighting for equality for black folks and others until their last breath.
They never stopped. First of all, when I think about John Lewis and a 17-year-old, having the wisdom and the understanding, even what was going on with discrimination and racism, and wanting to do something about it, joining the civil rights movement at 23, speaking at the March on Washington, I am amazed. But of course, I've been in awe of John Lewis for quite some time, in awe of him, not only because of his history, the leadership of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the sit-ins, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, all of that. I was in awe of him because of his ability to forgive and to love and to have no revenge in his heart. I thought that was quite unusual and outstanding, given that he had been beaten, he had been jailed, he had been treated, very bad. And yet he led a group to meet with George Wallace and to forgive him. And so I've been in awe of his ability to do that and to preach nonviolence and to live it. I mean, he didn't talk the talk, he actually walked the walk. An unusual young man that a historian referred to as a saint.
When we talk about members of Congress, I think a lot of people out there really don't understand. They say, well, how many bills did somebody sponsor? How many were passed? But the reality is the job of a member of Congress is a lot of stuff that happens people never, ever see. And
That's
so
right.
what was his value? What did he bring to the Congress when it came to the work?
Well, first of all, let me just say that he was so revered, so loved, so respected. When he took the floor of the House to speak, everything was quiet. Everybody listened attentively because they knew that when he spoke, he had something very important to say. And so, first of all, before I even talk about the Voting Rights Act and the work that he did on legislation, on gun control and all of that, his presence here was a quietening presence, one where he could, lead a debate, get people focused and talk about not only the issue, but helped us to conduct ourselves in certain ways that I think, added to his importance here. Of course, he's going to be known for the Voting Rights Act and the fact that his bill is still on the desk of McConnell over in the Senate, where after the Supreme Court decision, where they literally changed Section 4, which of course caused Section 5 to no longer be operative, where we would be able to stop, jurisdictions from changing laws and doing things that would impact voting in those jurisdictions. So not only was he important on public policy and was able to, give the history on certain pieces of legislation, to work, with his colleagues, to help guide the entire Congress, to provide leadership. He was someone that everyone respected. And when, things were rough inside our own caucus and there appeared to be division, he could bring us all together.
Of course, when he led folks to sit down right there in the House to commandeer the stage, Congressman Jim Clyburn said that he thought that crystallized the moment that really united the Democratic Party and played a role in them winning so many seats in 2018 because it sort of galvanized the party as well. A lot of people were obviously shocked by that, and it was sort of weird when we played the video, though, people looking around like, well, I guess he gonna sit down. We better sit down. And he sort of challenged Democrats who, frankly, we don't really know. That's not how a member of Congress is supposed to act. These are non-black folks. Caused them to say, yeah, take a seat. This is what you do when you got to make a point.
Well, the fact of the matter is the way that we are thought to conduct ourselves, talking about the gentlewoman and the gentleman and, all of that, no one would have expected that people who had never dreamed that they would sit down, that they would get on the floor, they did it. And of course, this changed a lot of individuals, members of Congress who had never experienced what it is to do a sit-in, to do a sleep-in, to do that kind of confrontation. And so I think Jim Clyburn may have had something when he talked about, the impact that it had on the election.
We talk about what's happening right now, certainly, and I said this and you already mentioned it, I really right now don't want to hear anything from Mitch McConnell or any Republican talking about John Lewis when the issue that he cared most about voting, they've done nothing.
They've done nothing. And, Roland, I have been to Selma practically every year since I've been elected, marching with John across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And you'd be surprised at the Republicans, conservatives, who would come because they wanted to have the identification perhaps for that segment of their districts. It
was a field trip for them, a field trip and a photo op.
Yes, and they may have had 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 or 10% of their districts were African Americans that they did nothing for except on Martin Luther King's birthday. And of course, the picture that they could take back to show that they were with John Lewis. And it always upset me. But again, I could not demonstrate it. I could not show it because John Lewis was the kind of human being that you certainly respected so much. And you did not want to do anything in his presence that would not be considered respectful. But he did not mind. He led the Faith in Politics group. They went into Montgomery. They went to the museum there, the Civil Rights Museum, and he brought them all over to Selma where they marched. But he was that kind of human being. He had love in his heart for everybody. He really believed in peace and certainly believed in nonviolence, and he lived it.
We would talk about people who stay involved and active. You're one of those folks. Folks have been talking about you on social media when you pulled your car over to make sure that a brother was properly being taken care of by a police officer. Guys, go ahead and roll that video, please.
They stopped the brother, so I stopped to see what they were doing.
Oh, okay.
So they say I'm in the wrong place, say they're going to give me a ticket. That's okay, as long as I watch them.
Gotta do what they gotta do, make sure.
All right.
Take it they never gave you that ticket, huh?
Well, they wrote the ticket and they asked me to sign it, and I refused to sign it. And they said, you must sign this because this is your promise to appear. I said, I'm not appearing anywhere, not signing any tickets. And they said, well, you could be arrested. I said, if that's what you think you need to do, that you have to do, then please go ahead and arrest me. They called out a captain. The captain came, and the captain basically said, Ms. Waters, well, you know you could be arrested. I said, yes, of course. And I've said to your officers, if that's what they have to do. And he just threw up his hands and told the officers, get rid of the ticket, bye.
They needed to understand you were going to make sure nothing happened to that brother.
Well, you know, Roland, I've been doing this for years, and I do it all the time. I mean, I don't ever talk about it. I just go, and I stand a respectable distance. I do not intervene, but I'm there watching, and the police know that I'm there. The deputies know that I'm there, and most of the time they let them go because eyes are upon them. But it's so important for us understanding that our young people are frightened. They don't know what to do, and I'm so worried that some of them may run, and then they'll get shot. They are so grateful to see somebody is standing there watching and looking after them. And of course, with me coming there, other people came. You know, the bus drivers who were passing by waved and shouted, Maxine Waters. People stopped their cars, and all of this, you know, put eyes on what was going on, and they released him. I'm not sure that some of these young people would be released, but for, you know, me and others who would stand and watch what's going on. And I'm so pleased now that everybody's got a cell phone and, you know, can, you know, take photographs of what's going on. I think that's very helpful. And this young man was just walking. They stopped him, and I asked him after they released him, why did they stop him? What did they say? And he said, they said, I fit the description. I said, oh, yes, I've heard that before.
Yeah, we've all heard that one before. I got to ask you a couple of issues. One, you chair, of course, House Financial Services Committee. We're dealing now with this coronavirus epidemic. Republicans are now complaining about extending these unemployment benefits. Here's Senator Ted Cruz saying, oh, basically, these folks are just making too much money.
Yes.
One of the
They said that.
One second. One second. Watch this.
So far is the plus up in unemployment compensation. We are paying a whole lot of people a lot more money to stay home and not work than they made on their jobs. And that is terrible for those workers. It's terrible for the economy. And every time, everyone in this body who votes for paying people more money to stay home and not work than to go to work, they ought to write on the top of that, paid for by the Joe Biden for President campaign. Because there are a lot.
Congresswoman, this is the same guy who opposes $15 an hour. Maybe if people got a living wage, then they wouldn't be making more money from this check. I mean, that's crazy.
Absolutely. And it is absolutely outrageous to begrudge poor people making, you know, entry wages, making, you know, minimum wages, to begrudge them getting $600 more. It's just not to be understood. But I don't understand Cruz anyway. And he's not a credible human being as far as I'm concerned. Anytime you allow the president to treat, you know, your wife the way that he allowed the president to treat his wife, and he's still, you know, basically licking the boots of the president, he is not to be understood or respected. So We can just disregard whatever he has to say.
I agree with that, and I'm from Texas, and I'll still vote there, but trust me, he don't get my vote. Just a couple of more. That, first off, Donald Trump yesterday, all of a sudden there's people in the media saying, oh, his tone has changed. Now he's encouraging people to wear masks, things along those lines. They're still discrediting Dr. Anthony Fauci as well. 140,000 people have died, and you have this administration who still all of a sudden now wants to say, oh, no, we're now on top of the coronavirus. California, your state, highest number of cases yet just yesterday.
I just checked, and I understand that we may have reported 5,000 new cases as of today. We are right at the top. We have a few states that's, in that situation, New York and New Jersey, and I think Florida is there, Arizona was there, and Georgia was there, but we're right at the top. And we have spent so much money, trying to deal with, the situation. We had a surplus, and now that has been depleted. But, our governor was doing a great job, but the pressure was so great, that was by this president and by all of those governors who follow him to open things up. He opened up, and this surge and this spike has taken place. And now it's basically out of control. And, people are going to not only be ill from COVID-19, they're going to die. Some people are going to die. This president has misled the nation. First of all, he said it was just a hoax, and he didn't get involved for several months. And then he paid no attention to the experts. And then he came up with his own remedies, telling us to drink bleach, etc. And then he told us it was just going to disappear. And he has not been credible. He has not provided the leadership. And so we find ourselves in a situation where we lost time, and we have other countries that are way ahead of us in, making sure that they have been doing the testing and that they don't have the kind of virus infections that we're getting on a daily basis that appear to be increasing every day. It is such a sad story about a lack of leadership, about an incompetent president who has no business being president in the first place, and not a clue about how to organize, how to provide leadership, how to work with others. And that's why we find ourselves in the situation that we're in. We have the HEROES bill now, following the other bills that we have passed, the CARES Act and the supplemental to that, and it's sitting on the desk of McConnell, who refused to get started with the negotiations. We have a $3 trillion bill, and he's saying it should only be perhaps maybe about $1 trillion, which is a mistake. Not only are the rents coming due, some people have not paid their rents for 2 and 3 months now. And our federal eviction moratorium is over at the end of this month. And many cities and states who had moratoriums, that's all over with. These landlords, many of them, they have a mortgage. If they're going to keep their rental units, they've got to pay. And so I'm so worried that people are going to be evicted and put out on the street and increase the homelessness that we're experiencing in this country. I'm so worried about homeowners losing their homes who will be in forbearance, but that's not going to last forever. They have to be willing to and able to negotiate at the end of the forbearance period, or they will not be able to make a lump sum payment and catch up with all the payments that they've not been able to make. And we call it HEROES because all of our frontline people, the doctors and the nurses and the grocery clerks and the people who work for the cities and the states and all that, who come to work every day and put their lives on the line. Cities and states need this money. And $1 trillion of the $3 trillion would be going into the states to maintain the unemployment, to maintain and take care of the people who are taking care of us. So we're in a bad situation, and I don't know how fast we're going to be able to get these negotiations going. It has taken so long for McConnell to even get started, and people are going to be hurting. I just hope that we don't end up with the kind of crisis in the streets where people have no place to live, no place to go. And, we need a supplemental. We need a supplemental. This cash supplemental is what puts food on the table.
Right.
So between the $600 employment, the cash supplemental, and the assistance to the cities and states, that's what America is going to have in order for us to just keep going. It's not going to solve everything because we still have the testing to deal with. We still have DPA to force them and the president to use that authority to get the PPE manufactured that's running out. I'm worried, and everybody in this country should be worried. Everybody should know that this president has more than defined himself as incapable and incompetent.
Last question. These troops, these federal agents, unidentified federal agents in Portland, Trump says he is now going to dispatch them across the country. Congressman Bobby Rush did an interview with Joe Madison saying Trump wants a race war. He is unleashing these individuals, snatching folks off the street. Politicians in those states, Oregon, have no idea who these folks are. What can Congress do? This guy flouts subpoenas. He doesn't care about congressional hearings or testimony. He is going to unleash these federal agents on American citizens with impunity.
Well, I think it was the Attorney General, maybe, I'm not sure, of Oregon.
Yeah.
Who basically said that she thinks this is a dry run for what he is going to do. You're absolutely right. They're unidentified. They don't have their names. They have these strange uniforms. They're snatching people off the street, throwing them into unmarked cars. This is his military. This is what you see in dictatorships in third world countries where, the leader, the dictator, keeps his military so that he can turn them on the people whenever he gets ready. And don't forget, this president has alluded to the fact that if he's not reelected, there may be a civil war. This is a dangerous man. And he's, instead of understanding that we have real problems that need to be addressed dealing with these young people in some of our cities. He keeps talking about Chicago because of the unfortunate killings that they're having, where we need to have everything from, more jobs, more counselors, more people assisting the families, where we're trying to deal with understanding what is driving the young people, with people going in, dealing with not only the individual, but seeing, what's happening with the parents, what's happening with the mothers and fathers, what's happening with the ability for them to have health care, and whether or not we have some of these young people who are, having mental problems. I mean, a lot of, work that needs to be done, not going in with guns, talking about we're going in tough. We're going to take care of it. What he's doing is he's threatening to kill some people. And guess who those people are? They're us. It is a dangerous thing that he's talking about doing. The mayors didn't even know, and the state legislatures didn't even know he was coming into Portland, didn't know he was coming there. He does not consult with them. This is an outrageous abuse of power.
Congresswoman Maxine Waters, always a pleasure to have you on the show. We appreciate that you always take time for us to speak to our audience, and it's greatly appreciated.
And thank you so much, and I appreciate you so very much.
Thanks a bunch. You take care, be safe. And also, condolences on your sister. I know it was very difficult losing her coronavirus, so certainly condolences.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thanks a bunch. All right, folks.
Back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one
It's
moment.
time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.